Hello there. Hi.
Hello. Hi.
I'm going to try out my Australian accent.
And I won't.
Comment down below.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah, comment down below. It's
like you swallowed it.
It's a swallowed L.
No, I can't even pretend. Blow. Oh, I got it.
Yeah.
Just say blow. Blow.
Yeah.
I'm not good at this game. I'm terrible at it.
I mean, not everyone can have a stellar Australian accent such as I.
Like a perfect Australian accent.
Oh, yes. Perfect. Yes. Cool. All right. Well.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to Creepy InQueeries,
a podcast dedicated to all things creepy, spoopy, and true crimey.
With your hosts, Miss
and Kevin,
your friendly neighborhood queers.
Let's dive in. Yeah, I was doing a sultry kind of sound.
Yeah, I tried, but I can't get my voice to do it today. I don't know why.
I'm cozying up today. I got a little blanket.
Oh, stop.
Yeah.
Well, I have tea because we're going to be recording a lot. And last time, my throat hurt.
Really?
After we did the double. I don't talk a lot in my real day-to-day because I live alone. I go to work, but it's only 2 other people in my little office, and we are all introverted. So yeah, I really don't talk that much. So when we do these recordings, I get a little blacked up. Backed up. I didn't mean to say that.
So are you excited for your story this week?
I'm very excited for my story this week.
Ooh, good. Me too.
Good. I'm going first, though.
You sure are.
Oh, I do like my story a lot. Okay, I'm not going to lie. I did forget about what it was for like 1 second. There's a lot going on in my brain right now. So I remember, and it's actually very good. I'm excited.
Yes, I'm excited too.
How have you been? How are you living?
I'm doing great.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was MLK weekend.
It was long weekend.
It was a lovely long weekend. We had our 2 nieces that came down from New York. Aww. They got to stay over, and it was the first time. It was very fun. Yeah.
That's so exciting. How was it?
It was so cool. We got to bake cookies and got to watch fun movies and read a lot of books. And
Stop. How old are they?
They are 6 and 4.
Oh, good. That's a really good age.
Yeah, and they've been here before, but they've never stayed over. So this was like super exciting for myself and Ben. So.
You're just like, oh, I got this.
Yes.
Uncle Kevin's on it. Uncle Kevin's got an itinerary. We know everything we're going to do. We're baking cookies. We're doing makeovers.
It's amazing.
That's very exciting.
And how was your weekend? What'd you do? What'd you get up to?
Well, I studied. I mean, that's all I did. I was very excited for the day off that I kept forgetting about, which is classic me. I forget about it. But the good thing is that I get to remember it multiple times. And then I get to get excited multiple times. But really, it was just another 10-hour day.
Yep.
Studying for the bar.
Oh, yeah. Just a reminder, Miss is deep into studying for the bar. And it is just as grueling as she's making it sound. So everyone send her love and positive vibes.
Please.
And words of encouragement.
It's not my first time around, but it is just as hard. It is. It's just, it's dumb. It's dumb.
It's dumb. Why do they call it the bar? Do you know?
Okay. So when you're in the courtroom, they're public, but normally there's a bar or a cutoff where
like on Judge Judy, where that little half door.
Basically, yeah, where only the attorneys and the parties can be, I guess, behind that bar.
Cool.
So I get to step between the gate in Judge Judy world. If I could just fucking pass.
And you will.
We'll see.
Yeah.
One day.
Well, positive vibes to you. You're going to do great.
I've been putting my face in cats' bellies and screaming a lot. Internally, I don't want to scare them. And
cats' bellies are the new pillows.
Oh, no. Like when I'm sad, I just find Frankie, my big boy, and I just put my face in him because it's healing.
He doesn't like kick at you to get you off?
No, not Frankie. He lets you do anything you want. I would never do it to the other one. I would be dead. I would have I would be the Phantom of the Opera, but full mask.
You would only be able to do podcasts for the rest of your life.
Yes. Just only audio recordings, no pictures, please.
I love it.
This is really what's keeping me sane. I shouldn't at all be participating in this, considering how close we are, but I make it work. That's what I've been getting up at 5 a.m. to do.
And we've been doubling up on recording of episodes, too, for this reason.
Yeah, because at least minimum 2 weeks before the bar, I will not be communicating in any fashion. Sorry. I will not be communicating in any fashion to anyone for anything.
Well, good luck, my love. You're going to do great. And in the vein of getting this over as quick as possible so you can get back to studying, today is your story for your true crime story. And I will be doing a spooky story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We have been visited by the tiny cat. I don't know if you can hear him, but he's super loud. Purr.
Yes. Aww.
He's tiny menace. It is my week. I'm very excited. I went again with not dark and depressing because I've been needing a little uplift lately.
Yes.
So I am not going to tell. Well, I guess I can. I'm doing basically the world's first girl gang.
Fuck yeah.
And they're not first, but most notorious leader.
Yes.
All right. So we're going way back.
Okay.
And we're going to be talking about the 40 Thieves or the 40 Elephants. They go by both. But before we get to them, let's go way, way back.
Okay.
So the Elephant and Castle Gang was named for the section of London they occupied, and it was originally formed in 1820. And they lasted all through the 19th century. And then between the world wars, the group ran southeast London with an iron fist. And their dominance was often challenged, which resulted in violent turf wars. They were burglars, smash and grabbers, and fences. They also offered specialized criminal services to fit any criminal or nefarious need, like hired muscle, warehouse thieving, or bookmaking, to name a few. And they were very good at what they did. But at this time, the original gang, it was all men. And they were so good at what they did, they earned the reluctant respect of the police, as demonstrated by Detective George Cornish's description. And he said the gang was smart, well-dressed, well-educated, dapper aristocrats of crime.
Wow. If only I could ever be described that way in my life.
Right? I would take half of those words.
Right?
Again, they were very typical for the 19th century when industrialization led to booming progress and fortune for the wealthy and left next to nothing for everyone else, especially in the urban areas. But what was not typical of the time was the second branch of the gang. The second branch was run by women, mainly the wives, girlfriends, and daughters of the Elephant and Castle gang members. Lady criminals, were obviously not new, but there was a stereotype at the time that women criminals were haggard, poxmarked sex workers who only committed petty crimes to supplement their income. So the second branch ladies were nothing like that. They were actually closer to what we would consider like trophy wives. They were gorgeous young women in high-end fashion and, quote, innocent looking, unquote.
All right.
While the men did the heavy lifting, the women were shoplifters, but they were just as tough as the men that they worked for and loved. And while some women were working to support the gang at the direction of a husband or father, later women joined independently for the promise of economic independence. In fact, women never wore any of the clothes that they stole. They bought their clothes with cash as a sign to others that they could afford the fancy high street fashions, and they modeled themselves after the wealthy young aristocrats of the time who were the celebrities of the late 19th century. And they were heavily chronicled in the newspaper.
So they stole. Did they steal clothes, but they still bought other clothes?
They stole anything. They're really focused on clothing like fur, furs and jewelry, anything they could get a high market for. So they're going to like the high-end shops where only the respectable ladies are shopping. And we'll get into it, but, you know, they have to look the part and what they do. And we'll go into like all the methods that they use because it's really interesting. But they were mostly focused on like big ticket items, which for the time was jewelry, furs, coats, even like fancy shoes and things like that.
Okay.
But they never wore what they stole. And then in 1890, the women of the second branch formed their own path while remaining loyal to the Elephant and Castle Boys, and they called themselves the 40 Thieves or the 40 Elephants. And they were a formidable gang in their own right. They were highly organized and extremely efficient. They operated in small cells all over London and cities throughout the country. The women gained a well-earned reputation for violence, quote, unafraid to wield a hat pin, a razor wrapped in a handkerchief, or a hidden corsage, and of course, their fists.
Badass.
I know, right? They executed planned raids in clothes they retailored themselves. And what they did was they took all of the big fancy dresses and they put huge deep pockets in them, in the coats, in the cummerbunds, in like the muffs and their bloomers and skirts, which allowed them to literally clean out a department store in a matter of minutes, like locusts on a field of corn.
Or like anchovies on SpongeBob.
Sure.
Anchovies.
Sure.
You know what I'm talking about. Don't act like you don't.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't remember that?
No.
When they come in, like they get bussed in and that smelly smell that smells smelly.
Oh.
And then they're like, it's anchovies. And then they all like swarm the Krusty Krab. They're like,
yes, okay.
No.
When you said the smelly smell that smells, that triggered it. Okay, you're right. I do know what you're talking about. Look at you being the keeper of memories.
Yeah.
The store employees wouldn't know they'd been hit until after the women left in their waiting carriages, losing thousands of pounds worth of merchandise in a few minutes and earning the women hundreds of pounds per score. The girls benefited from what was called, quote, the prudish attitudes of the time by taking shelter behind privacy afforded to women, especially in large stores, because it was considered inappropriate for an employee to approach a woman shopper if she was by herself. And then if they were in a group, there really was no reason unless they asked you for help. So no one would think for a single second that a well-dressed woman speaking in the high class vernacular would be capable of stealing. As we know from Lizzie Borden, misogyny ran rampant and men in government and the police simply refused to believe that women were capable of committing such crimes.
They were delicate flowers.
We're delicate flowers. And I really almost wish that was still a belief because Could you take advantage of it?
I know. What I would love is if anyone from the executive committee of Yankee Candle, if you're listening to this podcast, you can go ahead and make your employees kind of operate under that assumption.
Train them to think that women are dumb.
Train them to not approach anyone.
Oh God!
In the store.
If we could teach anybody in any store to
avoid Yankee Candle with my life now because I just don't like being talked to, and it's so small.
And they swarm.
Yes,
like I remember the last time I went into a store was with you, like years ago. And within 1 second, 3 people had talked to us, and we're both just like, "No, we're gonna go."
It's buy 7 get 1 free.
No.
Do you guys want anything? Do you need any help? These are our new selections.
God, if I ask you a question, please help me.
Yes.
But if I am trying so hard to not make eye contact with you and to just have my back to you, please stop. Please don't.
I'm not a mystery shopper. I'm not going to grade you on your performance. Just leave me alone.
That's fair. I didn't think about that. They don't know that. Sorry. My high pony got unwieldy. While thieving was their main game, they had other skills as well. Some would be hired as housemaids using fake references from other women in the gang. They would stay for a few weeks doing the work, getting in with the rich people. And then they would take the first opportunity to ransack and rob them blind. They also had a knack for blackmail, and the prettier of the thieves would commonly seduce married men only to force them to pay substantial sums in order to keep them quiet.
Wow.
And this dangerous group of psychopaths was commanded by a single leader, the Queen.
Oh, God, that's so sexy.
Mm-hmm. And she was called the Queen, and they called her the Queen. So, the most notorious queen of the 40 Thieves was Diamond Annie, who ruled the gang with absolute authority from 1916 to 1925. Her real name was Alice Elizabeth Black, a.k.a. Alice Diamond, and she was born in 1896 in London to criminal parents, and she grew up in the Lambeth Workhouse. And if you don't know, London workhouses were institutions to help people and to provide work for the poor, and they were deliberately made awful places to be to discourage their use. So, it was terrible. Many people might know of Lambeth Workhouse because that's where Charlie Chaplin was sent when he was 7, because his parents were poor. So he did hard labor as a 7-year-old. Alice's father was an illiterate, violent alcoholic who stole anything he could, and he was most known for punching a police officer and once jailed for punching the Lord Mayor of London.
Damn.
And Alice was a skilled shoplifter by the time she was 7, and she was arrested for the first time at 17 for stealing clothing from a department store. She's often quoted as saying, "Police forces are set up by governments to stop others getting a share of what they got." End quote.
Bing, bang, bong.
Show me the lie.
Yeah, show me the lie.
Alice wanted more than where she came from. She dreamed of power and glamour and did everything she could to get it. Alice bucked the norms and gender roles of the time, vowing to never marry or have children. Alice learned to, quote, put on the posh, end quote, as she called it, by mimicking her favorite silent movie stars in their dress, speech, and styling. So that's where she learned to really look the part for going into these high-end fancy places, because she just watched the new movie stars, which, the real first celebrities as we think of them today.
Yeah.
Alice, quote, used violence as a means of control, and she loved a good brawl. She wore handfuls of jeweled rings on all of her fingers, like brass knuckles,
nice,
earning the tabloid nickname Diamond Annie. And don't worry, she was also physically intimidating as well, towering over most people at 5'9" in a time where the average man was only 5'6". So
I'm thinking of also of Leslie Knope when she went to go meet Tammy 2 for the first time at the library, and she wore all her sharpest rings. This one will tear you up.
All of her sharpest ring. That's exactly what she did.
Yeah.
She was bejeweled to the top. And even without them, a police officer was quoted as saying she had a punch to beware of.
Mm-hmm. Damn straight.
And also, let's see, her penchant for fighting and winning and thieving made her the undisputed queen of the 40 Thieves / elephants by the time she was 20. She ruled with military precision, dividing the gang into cells to ransack a single shop or raid series of shops across the city simultaneously. And the police were said to call her the cleverest of the thieves. Under her direction, the gang guarded their territory fiercely, and any non-gang member dumb enough to get caught shoplifting in their territory was forced to give them a portion of the goods or an amount of money that suited Alice. And if they refused, the gang would beat or kidnap them until they agreed to the terms.
I mean, that's gang life. Yeah.
It really is. Despite the name, the gang was closer to 70 women at its peak, and Alice was masterful in her orchestration of crime. Alice created the Hoisters Code. Also, it's one other source said that she didn't create it, but the original queen, Mary Carr, created it, but more sources said it was Alice, so we're going to go with that. And the Hoisters Code was basically a code of conduct for the members of the gang. It determined how money was divided, expectations like to care for the family of a woman in jail or to always provide a woman with an alibi. It strictly forbade the members from having boyfriends or marrying without her approval. Quote, Diamond also codified an expectation of absolute fealty that was punishable by, quote, ridicule or beating, end quote, when disobeyed. Nobody did anything that wasn't approved by Alice. But on the other hand, being a member of the gang was said to be like being in a union at the time. You paid your dues and you had absolute protection.
Yep.
They were all incredibly loyal and you were protected no matter what. The gang even had a treasury that was used to fund lawyers and also their extravagant lifestyle. As an example of what they like to do, here's a few. In the fall of 1915, a group of hansom cabs pulled up in front of Selfridge's department store on Oxford Street in London, which is apparently a big to-do fancy store, or was, because it was a big deal. And small groups of 3 or 4 women exited each cab and entered the store. While they were doing that, a chauffeured limousine in 1915 pulled up to the front of the store. And a tall, handsome woman, impeccably dressed in jewels and fur, stepped out and into the store. The queen had arrived. Small groups of women shopping together was very normal and didn't raise suspicion, but it did keep employees busy. So while they were doing that with the groups of women that came in, Alice came in unnoticed and casually left a little while later, appearing much larger than when she went in. When the car casually pulled off from the curb, the groups of girls slowly waddled out the door and into their waiting cabs. It didn't take long for the shopkeepers to realize they were cleaned out. But by the time they notified the police and then the police caught up with them, the stolen good had already been dropped off to the fences and nothing was found, so no charges could be brought.
Bing, bang, bong.
Do you know what the fences are?
No, actually, I was going to ask you about that.
Fencers are the buyers and sellers of stolen goods. Oh. So I'm going to rob a store. I'm not just going to keep it and have that for free. I'm going to steal it and I'm going to sell it to the fence. And the fence is a person or group. And they take the merchandise and they pay you whatever they think you deserve for it. So it was usually at like it was a lot less than what it was worth. Yeah. But you didn't pay for it, so it's just free money.
Right. It's still 100% profit.
Yeah, it's 100% profit, and they did it so often. A part of the code was that they worked 5 days a week, baby, and work they did. Other times, Alice went to shops where the employees knew who she was and knew that she was a thief just to fuck with them. While they kept an incredibly close eye on Alice, who was just browsing. Another woman was directly behind her, filling up all of her hidden pockets. Another technique she developed was called the crush. From the Daily Quote, a crowd of women would press around the counter, and one would demand to be shown trinkets or makeup, handing the goods to the woman next to her. She would then vigorously deny ever touching them. The second woman would pass them straight on, and so would the next, until the stolen items ended up with an accomplice at the back of the crush who would leave the store while all the ruckus was going on, and they were loudly protesting their innocence.
This is organized.
No, this is like battlefield precision.
Yeah.
This is not, hey, you go in, distract them, I'm going to go steal stuff. This is precision. This is like, they would like practice. Like, this was no joke. I mean, this was everything. This was their livelihood.
Please tell me there was like a movie made about these. And if not, why?
So.
Why hasn't there been yet?
They're women.
Yeah. Hey, yes.
But I did read some stuff when I was researching about, like, I don't know if that was even like now, but at one point the BBC was doing a TV show, like a series, but I don't know. I've never heard of them. Me
neither.
Before some interesting Googling I was doing. But
interesting Googling.
Just, if who's ever assigned to me.
Your FBI agent?
Yeah, my FBI agent, he's going to have, like, I feel bad. Like, he needs therapy. Like, the things that I've Googled and the things that I read about. Anyway, where were we? Oh, okay. Now, this one is just gross. But in 1917, chewing gum was all the rage. So the women would walk into stores loudly chewing their gum, while one woman would stick her gum under the counter and continue to pretend chew. The woman would then ask to see some rings, and when the employee was distracted or not looking, she took a ring from the, like at a jewelry store?
Yeah, they bring out the
whole thing. Yeah. So they quickly grab a tray, stick a ring to the gum, and while continuing to browse and keeping the employee behind the counter distracted, another woman who, quote unquote, did not know her, walked surreptitiously, but I can't.
Surreptitiously
walk behind her, grab the ring caught on the gum, and out of the store. And she would do it over and over and over again.
How did these guys behind the counter not know that the rings
were... They cleaned out like jewelry stores all the time.
Wow.
Like regularly. And they would hit the same stores over and over again.
Sisters, but they had so many doing it for themselves.
And they had so many people in the gang that really Alice and a few of like the big players were really the only recognizable people. And even then, like all she had to do was put on a wig, and she had a collection of wigs, and literally just to everyone else, she's just unrecognizable. What a time to be alive.
What a time. That's outstanding.
People don't know how much they could have gotten away with back then.
Oh, I know. Like there's no security. There's no like cameras. There's no CCTV.
No, but even when they got robbed, they thought it was just such a crazy thing to happen that it could never happen again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when they would go back to rob the same places, nothing was changed. Like they didn't implement new security or have a dude being intimidating at the door or anything.
And I doubt even that would stop them anyway.
But also, these are like the super fancy high-end shops. They don't want to change anything. Mm-hmm. They don't want to put a man at the door. They don't want to have security measures. It's uncomfortable for rich people.
That's a good point.
To realize that or do things that they don't want to do. Maggie Hughes was Alice's best friend and her lieutenant. Maggie was married to Alfie Hughes, one of their biggest fences, and she managed her first conviction for thievery at 14, and she was more impulsive and opportunistic than Alice and the gang were known for. But because Alice was okay with her, Maggie was okay. She was said to have a psychotic temper, and she was uncontrollable when she was drunk. and she was always drunk. She was 4'10", skinny and tattooed.
Oh my gosh.
She's so scary. She's like literally sounds like the scariest person on earth. Like scariest person I could think about. She's 4'10", skinny, tattooed, and she was her big name to fame was she impulsively grabbed a tray of rings, turned around, ran from the jewelry store, and collided directly into a police officer. Which is like exactly what Alice and the gang were like absolutely not doing, and absolutely
they weren't
not
about that lifestyle. Yeah.
No, not at all. Not at all. These women were not all work and no play. They reached their peak in the roaring 20s and personified the lifestyle of the rich and powerful. At the time, there was a group of young aristocrats called the Bright Young Things, who were basically like celebrity rich people. Like they threw wild costume parties. They went on elaborate treasure hunts through London, like at nighttime. And then they drank heavily and used drugs. And then most importantly, it was all enthusiastically covered by journalists. So Diamond Annie, she was incredibly, if not smart, incredibly savvy. And she knew that if she looked the part and especially mimicked the Bright Young Things, they could also be famous. She could also get in the papers. And she did. Constantly, to the point where like officials begged newspapers not to report on their crimes or not even just their crimes, but their antics in general. And they were like, fuck no, this is money. Everybody wants to know what's going on.
This is sensational. Yes, we're going to write about it.
Yeah. Also, it's the tabloids in London.
The paps.
After a long, successful day of criming, they would make their way to a bar or hotel, drinking voraciously and sometimes during coke, and flirting with the bewildered staff. This was not how women behaved, especially how supposedly fancy women would behave, because they weren't just, at the local around the corner. They were truly like in hotels and fancy places to see and be seen and acting like animals. The gang had a strict schedule of thieving and scheming 5 days a week. So during that week, they would stick to one location for their after work relaxation. The women ingratiated themselves in a hotel or the bar to the employees. And once that happened, Alice went to work. While a group of the quote unquote regulars distracted the employees at the bar, Alice and a small group took the keys and went room by room, stuffing anything they could into their secret pockets.
Secret pockets.
Oh, they would also throw extravagant parties and spend crazy amounts of money in pubs, clubs, and restaurants. So just like basically how celebrities are today. Like they were like the prototype of reality TV for the time. People bought newspapers just to follow them and what they were doing and where they hit, and to see the truly crazy parties they had, just rubbing it in everyone's faces that everyone knew that they were criminals and nobody could pin it on them. That's not to say that they never got arrested, because they did all the time. But this is where Alice was really smart. She broke the groups into the cells, right? So there's 3, 4, maybe 5 women in these cells, and they had territories basically. And if people started getting suspicious, the cells rotated, the cells moved. So even though these women were out there stealing in one city every day, 5 days a week, they still got away with it for so long. So if they did get arrested, if they did get caught, they were, because everything was actually done on such a small scale, there was much less liability. And like, they would get like 3 months in jail, 4 months in a workhouse. Like it's not good, but they weren't doing time. They weren't being put away. Not like if they were gangsters in the US at the time, running booze and shooting people. And there also weren't like murderers either. So that
I was going to say, so it doesn't sound like they were like a bloody kind of like
no, they
murderish.
They were not murderers, but they were super crazy violent. Like, do you ever watch Peaky Blinders?
No.
Oh. Well, they were a real gang at the time, and they were allied with the Castle and Elephant boys and the 40 Thieves. So they kept razor blades in corsages to slash people when they fought.
Yeah.
Or they kept it like wrapped in a handkerchief and like in one of their pockets. Or they wore crazy hats and had these like foot-long hat pins that they wore specifically for stabbing and fighting. Alice herself was a brawler. Like a real brawler. She went out looking for fights and she fucking won. Like, especially before she was the queen, especially when she was younger. That's how people got to know who she was. Because while she came from criminals, she wasn't a wife or girlfriend or daughter of an elephant. She did briefly date a leader of when, like, you know, it was like king and queen of the gangs, but she kept to her vow and never married and never had kids. But she and every person in there were incredibly violent. They just weren't murderers. Like, they might have killed someone because they beat them to death, but
that was never the goal. Yeah.
Murder was not the goal. And I didn't read anything about anything like that. I think it's because they are so pretty and they are like wearing super fancy long dresses and they have Gibson girl hairstyles, and it just is so hard for me to like see them. I can see the stealing. I can see the like organization of it. I want to see the brawl like really bad. And I want to see Alice with all of her rings just ripping faces open. But I digress.
I love it.
Alice reveled in the publicity, but it was a problem. Everyone knew who she was and some of her gang, so they had to branch out. And apparently it was all the rage at the time to visit the seaside, go down to the seaside and relax and unwind. So along with everyone else, that's what they did. They spread their network to beach and resort towns and cities in the north. An accomplice would drop off empty suitcases at luggage offices in train stations. And then after a successful swipe, they would return home with their suitcases bursting. They also did it with those giant trunks and any kind of luggage that you could think of. And nobody questioned them because it looks like they were coming back from vacation.
Yep.
And again, they were rich, fancy ladies. No one was going to suspect them anyway. But unfortunately, all good things do come to an end. Alice was becoming increasingly obsessed with controlling every move of the gang. I mean, it was a law in the Hoisters Code that you never defied her and that she had permission to beat the shit out of you if you did. Just before Christmas, 1925, somebody did the unthinkable and disobeyed Alice. Marie Britton sought the Queen's approval for a marriage. But the fiancé-to-be was not from Elephant and Castle neighborhoods, so she forbade the marriage because she had no idea where his loyalty was. Initially, Marie was like, cool, no problem. I see what you're saying. I respect it. But then she found out she was pregnant and then immediately got married. Which, like, do not blame her. It is 1925.
Yes.
Please go get married for your own life. Don't support that being a thing. But, you know, what are you going to do?
It was a century ago. Yeah.
It was literally oh, God.
Yeah.
It really was. It's
really?
I was going to say it's 1922. It's 2022. So Alice and Psycho Maggie were throwing a big old party down at the Canterbury Social Club. And somehow Alice found out about the marriage. And after some haranguing by Maggie and more likely an incredible amount of alcohol, Alice flew into a rage. And egged on by Maggie, She gathered a group of partygoers and decided to teach the newlyweds a lesson. Diamond Annie, in peak Diamond Annie fashion, ordered an uprising, leading a large group wielding broken bottles and hunks of concrete.
Gosh.
And led them to Marie Britton's home. When they were there, they beat and banged on the building so hard that eventually they were able to break inside. And in front of Marie, they beat and attacked her new husband, which is fun. It's just not funny.
Her baby daddy.
Yeah, watching your new husband and father of your child be beaten by a gang of psychotic drunk women. Which, again, I want to see this. Why can't I watch this?
Yeah, why hasn't there been a movie about this yet?
I'm not going to lie. There very well could be, but it's not good enough for me to know about it.
Right.
Which means it's terrible because I am the gauge of all the things.
You gatekeep.
Yes. In fact, this attack was so vicious, it became known as either the Battle of Lambeth or the Lambeth Riot. Police were called upon, obviously, and they were forced to break up the riot. Alice and Maggie and a few others were arrested, and Alice was sentenced to 18 months in jail.
Damn.
They got the queen. Alice tried to rule the gang from the inside, but it was clearly not working. And by the time she was released, I think it was only 4 months later, she was firmly dethroned, and there was a new queen in town, Lillian Rose Kendall, the bob-haired bandit. And if you just Google the bob-haired bandit, she's perfect. She's everything you want in a 1920s criminal lady. She's like, bob-haired bandit.
Bandit.
She's basically Betty Boop.
Yeah, you better work, bitch.
Yeah, she's just Betty Boop. So she realized she was ousted as queen. And really what was so surprising about that to me is that she was fine with it. She did not try to fight it. She accepted Lillian as the new leader and sort of worked tangentially around the gang. She was not a big member anymore, but she was still involved, as in socially involved with them. Mm-hmm. And she even appeared to support Lillian. But don't worry, just because she wasn't a big gang queen, gang queen, just because she wasn't that, she didn't go straight. She worked as a brothel madam for the rest of her life, something she was very good at. And what she also did was she acted as a godmother of sorts to younger lady criminals and taught them literally the art of thieving. She would hold little classes or she would just talk about it. She was very, very into giving lessons. And of course, she was still spending all of her money lavishly and living a wealthy life. Now just slightly more gross because she was a madam.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't think Maggie had a good time. I think she died. She had a really sad life, and I think she ended up killing herself. Oh. But yeah, so that was the story of the 40 Thieves and their most infamous leader, Diamond Annie.
Diamond Annie.
Yeah, the gang would actually go on for a while after. It wasn't officially done until 1955, maybe.
Wow,
when
that's long.
Yeah, when Italian, it was a group of Italian mafiosos that kind of took over southeast London. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit in love with Annie. Yeah. I'll leave it at that. I'm a little bit in love with her. She's legend, the queen.
Legendary.
She and Maggie sound like the scariest bitches I've ever heard of. The idea that I would be in the same room with them, I would cower in fear. And especially that little one, Maggie, because, oh God, no, listen.
Yeah, they're scrappy.
I love my sister to death. I love her. But she's little and she's... Not anymore, but when we were kids, the smaller they are, the scarier they are. They've got those little hands. They just small, petite women terrify me.
Absolutely.
But that's it.
I
Girl
love
gang.
it.
Girl gang.
I've never heard of them.
Me either.
And I did a quick Wikipedia search for them, and I don't see any references to any kind of movies or pop culture about them.
There's also not a ton of information about them in general. And it was kind of frustrating because, you know, there was a bunch of different sources, but they all kind of just said the same thing. They were a violent girl gang, and isn't that cool? So I really wanted this to be a lot longer. And there are books I could read, but I'm not in a book reading state right now.
Yes.
Maybe down the line, if we get popular enough to run out of ideas, I could do more of a deep dive into Diamond Annie, because I think she's great.
I love that idea. Yeah. So, that's so cool.
Yeah. I love it. I love everything about it.
Me too. And like the whole time you were telling the story, I just kept thinking of the movie Ocean's 8, because it's just like lady criminals, and they're smart and they are cunning and
dangerous.
Obviously with your story though, they're dangerous. They throw down, they're brawlers.
It's exciting. It's like the same reason, you know, there's like the bad boy, like people like the bad boy. It's the same thing.
God, yeah. Thank you for telling us this tale.
Yes.
And I love that we do a lot of stories on our episodes where it is kind of hard to find information, meaning they're not often told stories because, you know, you and I listen to a lot of true crime stuff and there's a lot of overlap a lot of times.
Yeah. And I'm not even necessarily opposed to that. I love hearing a new perspective on something I've already heard a million times.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I'm not against doing one of those big timers, and maybe down the line when I have the resources to commit to it, I will. But I'm just like, what'll make me happy to learn about right now? And that's where I'm staying for a little while, which is hard to do on a true crime podcast, but
it's a challenge, and
it's winter and times are tough. So
yes. Hell yeah. I love it.
So what are you going to delight me with today?
So I got a spoopy story for you, obviously.
Please.
It's my week to do a spoopy story.
It's your turn.
Yes. So today I'm going to tell you a story that takes place in a park that both you and I have been to before.
What?
It's a park known for its very famous locations and sights and attractions.
Okay.
It's a place where countless movies and TV shows have been filmed for more than 70 years, I believe.
Oh, I think I have a guess.
Do you? You want to take a guess?
Oh, is it Central Park?
No, but that's a great...
okay.
That is a park that both you and I have been to.
Yeah, together.
But different coast.
Okay.
So I'm talking about...
different coast.
Yeah.
Oh.
This time I'm talking about Griffith Park in Los Angeles.
Oh, we have been there. Oh, no.
More specifically, I'm going to tell you a ghostly tale of one of the countless hopefuls who moved to Hollywood to make it big and who never saw their dreams come true.
No. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to give a little backstory on Griffith Park and how it came to be.
Please.
Yeah, and as listeners, just want to tell you, I used to live in Los Angeles. I used to live in the Silver Lake neighborhood, and I loved it. I think about it all the time. And Griffith Park, you know, was very close by, and so I would often go hiking.
Has the observatory, right?
Exactly. You and I, we went up to the observatory, and there's the LA Zoo, and so there's all of these fun stuff. And Griffith Park is huge, and it's an urban park. And it is very rugged.
Did you make me hike there once? Did you make me go hiking there once? And I demanded we turn around.
Perhaps. That sounds very much like you and me.
It was like really, really... You were just like, no, it's not a hike. It's really easy. It's a walking path. And it was like a 90-degree angle straight up. And I was like, I can't.
Were we trying to like go somewhere or like hike to something?
I think we were just trying to hike a trail. It was dusty.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It was dusty and dirty.
Cliffs.
And I was in the sun. There were cliffs. And it was just literally, I was just trying to be nice and just go with the flow. But I was just like, fuck, I hate this so much. And then I was like, all right, I'm getting sunburned and my stomach feels weird. We got to go.
We're going. I have to leave. We have to go.
Yeah, I have to go. We have to go. The whole time. Anyway.
The whole time. Daniel. So Griffith Park is one of the largest urban parks in the United States at just over 4,300 acres.
Dang.
It was first known as Rancho Los Feliz when it was granted in 1795 by Spanish King Carlos III to Jose Vicente Feliz, a Mexican-born settler.
Okay.
And before everyone starts talking that lives in LA, yes, I know the neighborhood now is called Los Feliz. It's not Los Feliz, but, you know, his name wasn't Feliz because that's not how it's pronounced. It's Feliz, people.
Oh, wait, that's what Los Feliz is? It's supposed to be like Feliz?
Yeah, it's spelled Feliz, like Feliz Navidad, but they all pronounce it as Los Feliz. I don't know why. Yeah.
Well, they're Americans.
Yeah.
That's why. What?
So that land would be owned and operated by members of the Feliz family for some 70 years, I believe. In the 1860s, the current owner at that time, Don Antonio Feliz, he came down with smallpox.
Ooh,
and his de facto heir, because he didn't have any kids, but he did raise his niece Petronilla, and he raised her as if, you know, she were his own. When he came down with smallpox, she was sent down to Los Angeles to evade the outbreak there.
A little different today.
And it was during that time when he was pretty much sick and on his deathbed that two lawyers came in, swooped in, knowing the value of the land, came to him and manipulated him to sign over the land to them instead of his niece.
Duress.
And when Petronilla found out, she was livid. She was furious.
I wonder why.
That the land was essentially stolen from her family.
I know. Yeah, it's stolen right out from under her.
And so you know what you do when something like that happens? You put a curse on them and the land.
Abso-fucking-lutely you do. Hot damn.
She put a curse on those two men and on the land itself. She said, "The one shall die an untimely death, and the other in blood and violence. A blight shall fall on this terrestrial paradise. The cattle shall sicken, the fields shall no longer respond to the tiller. I see a great flood spreading destruction. I see the grand oaks wither in the tongues of flames. The wrath of heaven and the vengeance of hell shall fall upon this place."
Jesus. All right.
That's what she said.
All right. I don't know if we got to curse some children, but I support it anyway.
Yeah. So whether or not the curse was real.
Wait, what year was this?
I believe it's 1865.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, if it was close to 1906, she could have seen it.
Could have seen it happen.
At least with the earthquake, anyway.
Mm-hmm. Whether the curse was real or not, one of those men did die suddenly, and the other had a lot of financial ruin because the land was no longer tenable. There was a plague of grasshoppers, and that ate all the greenery, which killed all the cows. And then the land also, there was flooding as well.
So it happened.
A lot of that came to pass. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's upsetting and great.
So those two lawyers, they sold the land. It passed through a few more different hands before it was acquired by the now park's namesake, Griffith J. Griffith.
Okay. I'm not going to lie. I actually do know a little bit about Griffith J. Griffith.
Do you?
Only from another podcast. They did like an actual whole episode just on this fucker.
Oh, yeah.
So I know a little bit about him. I can only remember one specific thing, which I'm not going to say.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about him killing his wife or whatever, or shooting his wife and she didn't die, because that's not part of the story.
What I was going to talk about.
Yeah. I figured.
It's important to note, though, that the park is named after a man who shot his wife.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Yep, Griffith J. Griffith. Griffith Jenkins Griffith. Legend has it that workers saw both Don Antonio and Petronilla's ghost riding on the waves that would flood through the canyon, laughing at their misfortunes.
I'm just picturing a bitch on a
I picture
broom.
them like riding a wave like a horse.
Yes.
They're like,
just doing Reba cackles.
death to the white man. And the workers were terrified. They were terrified. And they refused to be on the property after nightfall. Even Griffith himself would not spend the night on the ranch, on the grounds.
Really? Okay.
No. So he was stuck with land that nothing would grow on and no one would go to. So in 1896, he decided to donate the land to the city of Los Angeles to use as a public park, which it has been since that day. Some of the most well-known sites include the Griffith Observatory, which we've been to, the Los Angeles Zoo, the Bronson Caves, which are very famous for a number of movie and TV shows, specifically early Star Trek episodes from the 1960s.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And perhaps its best-known landmark is the iconic Hollywood sign.
Oh, I didn't realize that was. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's part of Griffith Park itself, and it's on top of Mount Lee, which is in the Cahuenga Mountain
range.
The Cahuenga Mountain range. Thank you.
You're welcome. I got you.
It's also known for many hiking trails, which, I dearly miss, of course. I used to go there all the time.
Same.
You can hike up to the Hollywood sign, but it's also completely fenced off. You can't actually be on the signs themselves, but you can actually get up there and go see it from the top of the mountain from the back side of the sign, which is really cool.
Yes. I'm worried that might have been what we were doing when you forced me up there.
I want to say perhaps.
Because that would have been a fun touristy thing that didn't involve a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, this is what he wants to do. So,
so today's story is actually about the Hollywood sign specifically.
Oh.
The Hollywood sign was first erected in 1923, and it actually spelled out Hollywood land because it was used as an advertisement strategy for a new real estate development called, Hollywood Land. And it was only supposed to stay up for a year and a half. But the film industry started booming in the mid-20s, and it basically ended up staying permanently.
Nice. All right.
And so
what happened to the land?
So throughout its time, it fell into disrepair after a couple decades. And so shit was falling over and everything. So I think it was back in the 70s. I could be wrong. And I think Hugh Hefner had something to do with it. I think he helped finance the refurbishment of the sign. And it was rehabbed and re-erected, and it was they took down the land part, so it just says Hollywood, and that's what we all know it to be.
Yes.
So the story that I'm going to tell you about actually takes place in the 30s, during the time that the word Hollywood land is up there. So many people from all over the world have made their way to Hollywood for fame and fortune. And as you know, almost all of them don't achieve that.
No.
None
of them.
And I want to talk to you about one of these hopefuls who wanted to see her name splashed across newspapers and on the big screen. Her name was Peg Entwistle. Have you ever heard of her? No?
What's her name?
Peg Entwistle. Entwistle.
That's a lot of fun.
Yes.
Peg Entwistle. Okay. All right.
So her name is Peg Entwistle, and hers is a story of tragedy, as she never made it big, and she took drastic measures in her grief. Before I keep going, I'll preface that this following story deals with suicide, and if you or anyone you know is having any kind of ideations of harming yourself, please call 1-800-273-8255 or go to suicidepreventionlifeline.org to speak to somebody.
I used to work there.
Yes, you did. And it's 24 hours. It's free. And good news, by July 16th, 2022, you won't need to remember that 1-800 number because nationwide, you'll just need to dial 988 and it will direct you to that same line as the 800 number.
Excellent.
Yeah. Okay, so back to the gorgeous, gorgeous creature that is Peg. So she was born in 1908 as Millicent Lillian Entwistle in Port Talbot, Wales, to British parents.
Millicent? How'd you get from Millicent to Peg?
That's a great question. That's a great question.
Peg? All of the other names she had were so much better.
I know. I love Millicent.
I do too. Okay. Yeah. All right.
So she was born in 1908. She emigrated to New York City in 1916 when she was about 8 years old. And while she was there, she ended up finding a pretty good stage career on Broadway throughout the teens and the 20s.
Excellent.
It's also reported that throughout her life, she did battle depression, unfortunately.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Even though she had a fairly good and steady career on the stage in New York City, she, in 1932, made the move out to Los Angeles, and she wanted to move into the movie industry. She lived with her uncle who lived out there. And almost immediately when she moved there, she got a job on a Romney Brent stage play at the Belasco Theater called The Mad Hopes, which gave her some great reviews. So she did get her name in the paper, and she was starting to feel like, all right, things are going to happen. I'm going to get a movie soon. Things are going to really look up. Yeah. And shortly after that stage play ended, she got her first and only role in a movie.
Okay.
She had a bit role in a David O. Selznick film called The 13 Women, which actually she wouldn't have seen because it was released after her death. But she was there for all of the movie's previews, and they were not met with good reviews. And this, who knows, that may have contributed to her state of mind before her, decision.
Yeah. This was supposed to be her big break.
Yeah, it was going to be her big break. So the story really happens on September 18th, 1932. There was a woman that was hiking below the Hollywood sign where she found a woman's shoe, a purse, and a neatly folded jacket. She opened up the purse and she found a note. And after which she looked down the mountainside because, like I said, there's cliffs and everything. And she saw a body below there.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So she immediately reported it to the LAPD. I know.
God, 1932?
1932.
Yeah.
And I have a question. What kind of shoes would you wear if you were hiking in 1932 and you were a lady? I'm just curious because I'm like...
Well, they would have had flats because I don't even know what men would have worn in 1932.
Right.
Because sneakers, as we know them, really didn't start until the 60s. I want to know.
Yeah, me too.
1930s hiking shoes.
Yeah, if anyone knows fashion from the 30s, comment down below because I'm actually genuinely curious.
Yeah, me too.
Later on, a detective and 2 radio car officers found the body in a ravine below the Hollywood sign. Peg's body remained unidentified until her uncle identified her remains because he read it in the newspaper that there was a body. He connected that, she had been missing for about 2 days. And they printed the note that was found in the purse, and the initials were signed P.E. So he said once he figured out that was probably her, he told the police that it was on that Friday, the 16th of September. She had told him that she was going to go for a walk to the drugstore and then to go see some friends. And the police surmised that probably instead of her going to see her friends, she was heavily intoxicated. And she made her way to a nearby southern slope of Mount Lee to the foot of the Hollywood sign. Yeah. She found a workman's ladder, and she climbed on top of the 45-foot high H of Hollywoodland and jumped to her death. She was only 24.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Okay, so I looked it up.
Yeah.
Okay, honestly, they are tall, like leather... lace up. They're like basically boots that you would use if you were horse riding, but they are like laced up.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think that's good, but hold on, I just want to see one more thing. Yeah. Some of them are taller or shorter, but they look to be, well, now I'm gonna have to go down that rabbit hole later. Thank you, Kevin.
You are welcome.
That's so sad. She climbed up and jumped. That is.
And can I interject too that it is not at all easy to hike up to the Hollywood sign sober, let alone drunk, you know?
No, I was a perfectly sober, her age. Were we her age? Were we 24?
Yeah.
Listen, and I'm not gonna say that I'm athletic by any means. I'm whatever the opposite of that is, but I don't know. I'm picturing her in heels.
That's what I keep thinking. A little like 1930. And that's the other thing. Like I'm sure she wasn't dressed to go hiking either, especially when she left on a Friday night.
Well, you said she was intoxicated. Night. Yeah. She said she was intoxicated. So you can do a lot of things in heels when you're intoxicated.
You can. And it takes at least like 45 minutes from my recollection of it to get up to the top of that mountain. And it again,
I feel like you would sober
easy.
Up. Like
that's what I keep thinking too.
So
unless she had like a bottle with her or something,
maybe she did.
You would sober up before you got to the peak. But also, you're grieving and you're completely depressed, and you know.
Well, you're not obviously not acting logically.
Correct.
But I mean, so back then, 1930. I mean, also like, were there any lights? Was the sign lit up?
Yes, because
okay.
When it was first erected, it was lit up. Not how it is now where there's bottom lights that shine up on it. It was actually kind of like light bulbs that were around like a vanity light around the words.
Very 1930s. Yeah.
Very yeah. So it had the lights on them. So yes, but the trails are completely not lit.
I was going to say, there's no way that the trails, I mean, it's amazing that she got there.
That's what I kept thinking as much as I was reading this.
Yeah. I would have tripped once, gotten mad, probably sprained my ankle and just fallen asleep and had to be rescued the next day. I'm just not that willful.
Determined is not my middle name. Yep.
No.
So ghost stories first started appearing and being talked about in the 1940s. Specifically because that same H on the Hollywoodland sign where she jumped toppled over. So a lot of rumors started fueling that it was ghosts that was haunting the landmark.
Duh. Tell me it's something else. Liar.
Right.
Sorry.
And, stories have persisted since then. In 1990, 50 years after that, a young couple was hiking up Griffith Park trails. They stopped dead in their tracks because there was a disoriented blonde woman dressed in like 1930s clothing that was in front of them a little bit up further from them on the trail. And it looked like she was kind of floating off of the ground. And they just saw her, and then the woman kind of vanished right before their eyes.
Creepy. Was this was daytime?
This was daytime, yeah. And then in 2013, there was a jogger. Her name was Megan Santos. She was running on the trail, which was literally when I used to live there. So holy shit. I'm just thinking about that now.
Oh my God. Young Kevin.
Young me. I could have seen her.
You probably did.
So Megan was running. She was a jogger. She was running up there, and she told Vanity Fair the story. And as she was running, she began sneezing uncontrollably, and she became overwhelmed with the scent of gardenias.
Okay.
And that's when she looked up and she saw a lady that was dressed all in white floating above the ground. And then Megan hauled ass in the other direction. She was like, fuck that shit.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Smart. I would never be okay.
Yeah.
Never be okay. I would scream, literally just one continuous scream.
Oh God,
the whole way down, and sound like my cat when he runs up and down the steps while meowing.
Yes.
He's just like, because he's stepping.
So throughout the years, many Griffith Park rangers have claimed to see the ghost of a Hollywood sign, especially on foggy nights.
Ooh,
according to legend, the ghost is typically accompanied by that same smell of gardenias that Megan Santos had smelled that overcame her.
Weird.
Which, let me digress. Who the hell knows what gardenias smell like? I don't know offhand.
I was like, are they just so popular in Los Angeles that everyone knows what a gardenia smells like?
Jasmines are popular, and that's what I smell all the time.
Jasmine, and the other one I remember was the birds of paradise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What is it? What is a gardenia?
Gardenia. And so that was purportedly Peg's favorite perfume.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. I mean, honestly, most that comes up is perfume.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's said that the ghost is often seen as a woman in old-timey clothing who looks sad or confused. And she's also known to vanish when spoken at or if she's approached.
Oh.
Yeah. So if you're feeling brave, the trails in Griffith Park are open until 10 p.m., which don't ever be out on those trails that late.
Ever. This is Los Angeles, people.
No ghost sighting is worth that. There are actual dangers out there.
There are countless horrendous crimes that are happening at any given time.
Yes. There are unsavory characters there.
So the only characters are unsavory.
Yeah. Not to mention mountain lions, not to mention snakes. Like there's no lights on those trails. There are cliffs on those trails.
Yeah, just don't
stay
do it, people.
Out of there. Yeah. Don't.
Daytime only, and only if you must.
Absolutely. And that is the story of Peg Entwistle. She was actually gorgeous. I've looked up photos of her headshots, and she's very pretty, and it's very sad that, things transpired the way that they did.
Oh, she is very pretty. She reminded me of Kirsten Dunst.
Yes. Yes.
Doesn't she?
Absolutely. Yep. So as like a kind of postscript to her story, very soon after her death, there was a letter that arrived at her uncle's house from the Hollywood Playhouse, offering her a part in a play.
No.
And the role was of a woman who commits suicide, which...
What?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So, her legacy is one of tragedy, but, it's also forever attached to Hollywood and the Hollywood sign specifically, which is, one of the biggest landmarks of that city. And
oh, shit.
And in one fucked up way, her name is talked about, a century later.
Yeah.
Where most people don't get talked about that lived there then.
At all. I mean, it's kind of like the story of like the tortured artist who kills themselves only to become famous in death.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, she looked so nice.
She's so pretty.
Anyway, that's so good. I mean, we should know that. I wonder if she's the reason why, because I know she can't be the only person who has done that. I do know that. Well, there's always hope. Don't do it. Talk to somebody. Talk to yourself. Talk to a cat.
Yep. It's never worth it.
No. I mean, I hate it. It's such a sad story.
Yeah.
It was good. It was a good story too, because we got Los Angeles. We got Kevin in Los Angeles. We got Griffith Park. We got
memories of you and me.
Memories, you, me. We have murder. We have suicide. We have dirt.
We had to have been on that trail then, because that had to have been something that I was like, we can walk up to the Hollywood sign.
I think it was. And I was like, oh, cool. And then like we were there for like 20 minutes and I was like, how long is it? And you were like, oh, we haven't even started. I was like, cool.
Yeah, because you can't park close to it. It's not like a parking lot either. And by the way, like the people that live in that neighborhood directly down there, they hate people that do that, because they're like, because you have to walk through shit and Yeah,
I remember you gotta, and I was just like, what do you mean we haven't started?
Yeah.
It's just like, it's so high. And then I was like, oh, it's at the top of a mountain.
Yes, it is. We would be scaling a mountain. And my dumbass thought Miss would be fine with that.
Yeah, just take her. She doesn't move. She's quite overweight. She's
allergic to the sun.
I'm literally allergic to the sun. And I had a recent spinal surgery.
Look, I was just so excited you were there in my new hometown.
I know. And I was excited to be with you. And I was like, okay, I guess Kevin's a hiker now. I would have
pushed you up in a wheelchair if that were possible.
Well, you've done it in other places. So
I sure have.
That's good. Looking at you, Philadelphia.
I'm looking at you, Philly. So yes, look at us. Episode 9.
Proud of you.
I'm proud of you too.
Stop it. I don't want to hear it.
9 and feeling fine.
9 and feeling fine. It's also the best number out there.
Yeah, it's a lady heavy episode, and we love to.
It really is lady heavy.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I've niced myself out. So I feel like for my next, I did 2 nice quote unquote true crime stories in a row. So I might get a little darker next time. We'll see.
Ooh, nice. So Miss, where can they find us?
They can find us on Instagram at Creepy InQueeries Pod. Mm-hmm. They can find us if you want to send us a little note, a cute little recommendation, or even a little correction. Mm-hmm. You can email us at creepyinquiriespod@gmail.com. Mm-hmm. Or you can visit our website at creepyinquiriespod.com.
Sure
and if you're feeling really generous, you could hit that subscribe button and maybe leave us a little rating or review. No pressure, but it does help.
But actually, please rate and review us, because we want to know how our listeners like or dislike things about it, because we want to make a show.
People are listening.
Yes, we know people are listening, and we want to make a show that people thoroughly enjoy. And we're totally open-eared, and so let us know.
Send us your ideas.
Mm-hmm. If you have any suggestions for future episodes, holy shit.
Yeah, I've already taken one.
Yes,
La
you have.
Pascualita. She was a wreck from someone. So yeah, let us know. What are you thinking? What do you want? What do you don't like?
Yeah.
All that.
So we love you guys. Thank you for sticking around with us for another episode. Yeah. Episode 9. And
9!
We can't wait to see you guys next week for an all-new episode of Creepy InQueeries. Mm-hmm. But until then, as we say at the end of every episode, goodbye.